Hello and welcome to episode 9 of eBay Scavengers. I'm Ryan and I'm here with Wendy.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey. And we are talking about what is going on in our eBay store this week. So Wendy, I know you've had some pretty big, crazy, interesting sales this week. Why don't we talk about one of them?
All right. So we really like strategizing when we go out of town so that we can still run our store. So we really like to leave on Thursdays, be back by Mondays. You know, we can get all our shipping done and not be penalized and lose our status for any late shippings. So anyway, so we had a weekend planned and we entered a Dutch oven cooking contest in a pretty remote part of New Mexico, like way out there. And what was so cool was first we sold a bunch of stuff while we were gone, which was totally great.
Yeah.
And we were like looking at our iPhones, campsite and hearing the phone go cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yes.
And then the other great thing was we passed a sign on the way to the event that said rummage sale, annual rummage sale. And I thought, oh, that's going to be good. And sure enough, we went out Saturday morning and I got more than I could fit in the car practically for $5.
Wow, so you filled the whole, how is that even possible that you filled were you buying things for a nickel or were people just giving stuff away?
So here's the thing, and this happens a lot to us at sales. Inside, there'll be a table with a bunch of ladies, and they're really counting every object. Oh, that's a quarter, that's $1, da-da-da, right? But outside was a couple of guys, also working the event, and one of them watched my piles for me while I shopped. And what I could tell, it was going to be a good thing to check out with him. So when I was done, I was like, dude, can you just check me out over here? He's like, yeah, sure. And then he goes, you just give me a price for all of this and make it cheap. It was like boxes, taller than me, full of stuff. And I was like, and I didn't even know how to guess a price. And he goes, $10. And that was me and someone else splitting it.
What?
So $5. And then we're so way out that it was really weird, antique-y, crazy New Mexico stuff,
Wow. Yeah, it's funny.
It's good stuff.
That's always an interesting thing. That happened to us too, only the opposite at a yard sale over the weekend. It's where we are on the East Coast is just starting to get warm and nice, so it's the first yard sales are showing up. But we found this yard sale and we were we piled this stuff up, right? And we did the technique where you're talking about where you're hoping the person's just going to give you one cheap price. I'm hoping this guy's going to be all right, just $10, just take it all, whatever. So the guy looks at all the stuff and I'm just standing there for forever. He's just standing there staring at it. I'm like, is this going to be $5 or is this going to be $100? And he goes, just give me $75 for all of it. And yeah, right. So, and usually I'm not rude or anything, but I was like, what? You're crazy. This stuff is not worth $75. That is just, so I just was tell me, item by item what price you want because I just,
sure.
75, I don't have $75 cash on me. You crazy? I have $10 in quarters,
And that's what you have to do. You have to reverse the theory and then say, okay, let's go item by item.
Right.
I would, and you never know. When I asked that guy to check me out, he could have done the exact same thing.
Right.
But he said $10. I was like, no way.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I could remember times where I had 10 license plates and I said to the guy, how much? And he said $1. And I said each. And I think in retrospect, he meant for all of them. So sometimes, we do it to ourselves.
Right. Oh, I know. Because people are not clear. And also it's what you guys were talking about a few podcasts ago where you're what is valuable and how valuable is it to him compared to me,
Right.
Yeah. So you guys had another really big sale on a pair of boots this week.
We did. We had a really funny sale we went to about a month ago. And I say it was funny because, we live in a kind of low income, inexpensive area. And when we first moved here, this kind of like hot shot from Colorado built a new development. And we thought it was really stupid because it was just after the crash, the real estate crash. And it was like, are you kidding? Like, who's going to buy into this nonsense? But he did it anyway. And we got those boots that we sold for, I think, $290. They were one of like 8 pairs of boots we bought at this yard sale, which was the yard sale of the guy who started that development. So not only did the development fail as predicted, but he was having a yard sale and he was pushing out all these like $1,000, $2,000 pairs of boots for $30 each. So that was one of our big spender yard sales. We spent like $300 at a yard sale, which is unusual, but we got all these boots that we can flip for $300-400 a pop.
Yeah, that's also an interesting thing where you really have to decide, like, can I sell this for 10 times or more the amount and take the risk? Dropping $300 for people like us who are like super thrifty, like we want to spend a nickel, is a risk. But it seems like it's paying off.
Yeah, it's true. You guys actually taught us to be a little more spendy because you were describing spending big numbers at sales. And we were like, wow, really? So now we're a little less afraid. So thanks for that. It's actually worked in our favor. I'd rather make, the same percentage, but on a bigger start off.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you want that, like, 10 times or more. Sometimes you can't always do it that way, but and also sometimes when you spend big, $25 to $100 on an item. I mean, I've spent $100 on a pair of lamps that I'm trying to sell for a couple $1,000s. I don't know if I'll get that price, but hopefully I'll at least double. What's that?
Yeah, but what a great payoff.
Right, exactly. It could possibly be.
So what was your winner of the week? What did you guys move that you were excited about?
Yeah, so I had this, and it's funny because I know you've been getting into certain, like, antique glassware. I have a piece of glassware that was a very unusual glass, like, it looked like a lantern, like an oil lamp, but it wasn't because the wick was really big and thick, and it smelled like perfume. It was this weird thing. And on the bottom, it said it was made by Phoenix Glassware. And it looked like it was from the late 1800s. Just the way the logo looked, and it's hand-painted, and the shape is very unusual. So I researched it a little bit, and I found out that it was a perfume lamp, or a fragrance lantern. It's a funky name. And because it was made by Phoenix... I found this out after I listed it, there are very specific people who collect Phoenix glassware, which is true for,
of course,
most, like name brands or whatever, name signed glassware or china or whatever. People are collectors. So I put this up and I could not find anything that had a logo similar or a similar shape or similar painting. So I put it up high. I put it up at $299 because I'm just like, I can't find anything that remotely looks like this.
Right. And
I got an email from a woman whose username has the word Phoenix in it, so she's a collector. And she was just like, I've never seen anything like this. I want more information, blah, blah, blah. So we talked back and forth, and she gave me a really high offer. So I just sold that, which was great.
Sweet.
Yeah, I bought it for nothing at a thrift store. Someone just thought it was junk, and I sold it for, over $200.
Nice. And, what's kind of amazing is I would never have thought that something that old, that long ago, people were perfuming their environments with that technology,
Right, yeah. It's funny because I guess the original use for it was for mortuaries.
Whoa.
So that's what it was for, funeral parlors or whatever back then.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of funky. Yeah, it's kind of gross. But that's what they were for. That's what it says on Wikipedia. So that's all I knew.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and what
this is much less sexy, but it has that same essence of like some weird old discontinued thing. My mom, who's like a total thrift shop lady, she's like 82 and she has a part-time job in a thrift shop where all the old ladies like fight over the stuff that comes in, and really, for real, there's like the most ridiculous drama. So anyway, this is like her way of showing affection to me. So every time I see her, she's like, I got you some stuff from the thrift shop. And she shows me all this crap. And some of it I'm like excited about. And a lot of it I won't take. Anyway, so she gives me this old set of tarot cards. And they're like Native American themed. And I'm like, this is so dorky, right? So I look it up. I take it. I look it up when I get home, and they're beaten up. But I learned from it that tarot cards, they run for a certain printing and then they stop. It's almost like a limited edition. And people who are into that stuff get really psyched to find one that's no longer running. And sure enough, this was like a discontinued set. So even though I got like $25 for it, it was less than that when they were new.
Yeah, isn't that funny? That's always funny when you sell something and you're like, I think I sold it for way more than it was originally priced for, but it's collectible. It's a collectible or it's rare. I think with glassware also, like with this Phoenix lamp, I mean, the fact that I'm pretty sure it's like 120 years old, and the fact that a piece of glassware has lasted, through generations, and not broken.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, wow, how'd this end up at my house?
So do you guys do this to each other? Sometimes we do this thing where, we won't know, like you said with that glass piece, the Phoenix, you don't really know for sure. You can't match it to anything else. So you take this guess and you move it pretty fast. And then this is what we tend to do sometimes is have the sentiment of like, oh shit, I should have made it higher.
Yep. I think that does happen, especially because for me, I do only buy it now. It's not auction. So I'm, judging by past sales of things similar and my, just sense of like, this is something rare. This is worth around, this is my feeling of how much it's worth. But I also feel like there is a part of me that's like, I do want to move things fast because, then two things. Then I know it's worth something for the next time I find something similar. And it gets it out of my storage,
True. It's really true. I try to catch myself when I do that because I think it's a little bit of a sour attitude. But I do notice that there's a tendency to do it.
Oh, sure. Especially with Buy It Now, because you put stuff up and especially if someone buys something for a lot of money for the price you are asking without making an offer and it sells in like an hour of you listing it, you're like, ooh, did I not do my research? Or the right person has a search out and they're a collector and they're like gonna buy it before anyone gets a chance, Yep.
Now I have to admit, I once had a skirt up it was my own clothes, and when someone bought it, I totally tweaked and realized I really don't want to get rid of this, and I told them I couldn't find it.
You know what? It's interesting that you brought that up because I had a similar thing. Well, it's a little bit different, but yeah, that on that same subject of either not being able to find something, which is rare, but it has happened to me where I'm like, I have no idea where that went. It should be right here with this item.
Us too. Yeah, we've done it too.
It's the worst feeling. Like, this is what I did by accident. This ties into our whole, like, owl theme. How you're like, owls are hot, People buy owl stuff. So I had this macrame, like, burlap owl hanging. You know what I'm talking about, what this thing is, right?
I think I have one.
I think I have, like, 5 of them, right? But, I did not realize that I had 2 in my store. And I went to my storage spot and I got the owl hanging and I shipped it to her. And then Jay was like, was that owl hanging accidentally listed twice? Because I see one in our store still. And I'm like, no, I don't think we had 2 of them. And then I looked at it and realized, oh, I totally shipped her the wrong one. Like, I didn't know I had 2, and I shipped her the wrong one. So it sucks to have to contact a customer and be like, you're about to get the wrong item on Monday, you know? But,
we've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it. We had a couple of flutes, and I shipped the wrong one, and the guy was so mad. And I was like,
Oh, no.
it was just a simple mistake. Yeah, and then I just didn't even say return it. Just keep it, give it to some kid in the neighborhood. Here's your other flute. It's on its way. But we've done the same thing.
Yeah, and I think the way to rectify it is what you just said exactly. Or at first I was going to say just keep it and I'll send you the other one. But I was like, you can get between 30 to 50 bucks for those things. So I was like, just send it back. Tell me how much the postage was. I'll PayPal you immediately the price of the postage, and I'll send yours out, tomorrow. So that's another way to do it if it's valuable enough to not be like, just keep it, give it to someone, and I'll send you the other one, which if it's only like $10 or whatever the item is not worth sending back. But
and you can sell it.
Right, exactly.
So I guess just kind of breezing over the subject to finish off today's topic of what's happening for the week, we had 2 other funny things that I think were notable. One was the strangest little item, like a metal circular enameled object on a little leather loop. Yeah, and it just said Northern Pacific Railway, and I had no idea what that meant. I couldn't really find anything on it. It looked like a luggage tag. So I threw it up for $10, and somebody bought it.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is like the beauty of eBay, because you're like, I don't know what this is. It has a marking. I'm going to put that in the title. Someone who's into that, whatever it is going to find it. And they do,
Yeah. I was like, people are into railway.
Yes.
That's all I need to know.
Yep, exactly.
And then the other funny one was this really kind of snazzy 1970s hard helmet for like mopeding. And the reason I love this object is not only because we actually made some good money on it, but the picture of Mikey wearing it in our eBay store, and the fact that anyone would look at that photo and go, I got to be like this guy, was shocking.
Well, and that's the graphic I'm going to use for the podcast today, is that picture of Mikey.
Oh, you should. Yeah.
Yep. I know, that one's so funny. I love it when he's like making crazy faces. It just cracks me up.
But you guys, I mean, every week you seem really consistent on shoes, like lamps, coats, sweaters. I mean, you really have it down.
Well, it's funny because I think we all experience this, where there are some weeks and days and weeks where you're like, wow, we're selling like so much stuff, clothes, shoes. I sold a ton of shoes this week. I don't know what happened. I woke up one morning and like 4 pairs of women's shoes had sold overnight. I'm like, what? It's so random sometimes what is selling, and it's weird. It's hard to explain sometimes. Like in the middle of the summer, there was a heat wave last July, and I was selling to sweaters to people in South Carolina. I don't know,
Amazing.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
Consistently, like every day, I was like, more sweaters are selling to people in the south of the country where it's 110 degrees. I don't know.
I totally don't get it either. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to sell them to Australia, which I totally see that, but
right, because it's almost winter.
Not a heat wave.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's wrap up this episode, and we will move on to our next episode, which Wendy and I are going to talk about packing, because we are the packing masters in our houses.